Hi, my name is Wendy Downing. I'm one of the owners of Three Sisters Nixtamal. We make organic corn tortillas the traditional way. We've been in Portland now, this is our 10th year of making tortillas and fresh masa. And I'm excited to show you a recipe that you can use the delicata squash. That'll be coming your way soon, or maybe it's already in your CSA box. We also will be using some red cabbage and some cilantro, and these are all good like fall, winter items. So what I'm making is I'm going to call Three Sisters tacos because not only are we using the Three Sisters corn tortillas, but it's the Three Sisters with the corn, the beans, and the squash. And so we're going to do a chipotle roasted delicata squash, and it's super easy, minimal ingredients, lots of substitutions are possible if that's, if you don't have one thing, use another or omit it. And then I'm going to toss some warm black beans with it. So that's the beans and the squash in the corn tortillas, Three Sisters. So we're going to start. One beautiful delicata squash. This one happens to weigh about a pound, but if you have a bigger one or a smaller one, it's going to be just fine. I like to, when I dice my delicata squash, or when I cut vegetables, I like to make sure everything's really stable. So sometimes if I have a really long knife, I will cut it this way, but instead I'm just gonna play it safe so I don't end up cutting a finger. Oh, there we go. And I'm gonna cut off those ends. That one, you can feel the woody stem on that one, and a little bit on this end. And I am going to cut these right down. Look how easy that is. It's not slipping, very safe, all about safe. Okay. And then I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna get the seeds out by using a spoon and make less of a mess by putting it directly into a bowl so I can put it into the compost. And since we're putting these in a taco, I'm gonna cut them fairly small so that they roast quickly, pick up a lot of flavor because there'll be a lot of surface area tossing with the chipotle, and they'll be a nice size for biting into. And these don't have to be part of a taco. They also work really well like in a rice bowl if you have several elements that you want to add, or you can use them to garnish a black bean chili. That's delicious. They're really versatile. Okay, one thing I really love about the delicata squash, and my family loves it too, is because I leave the skin on. I would never try to peel this. It would be really hard. And it's delicious, and it adds a nice texture. Some people don't like squash because it might be a little mushy, but this keeps a nice firm texture. When you fast roast it like we're going to, it really is delicious, and it's super tender. So don't peel it. You're gonna miss out some delicious elements of it. So, but it doesn't mean that you can't use this with other squashes. You can also use it with butternut squash, the same idea of roasting, but I think the delicata is definitely like my favorite because it's so easy to use. And it's sweet and delicious, especially in the fall. Okay, I'm finished dicing the delicata squash, and of course you can do this ahead of time if you want to save time at the last minute. And you can also make this recipe a day ahead or longer ahead. It's delicious and very easy to heat up and use again. And you'll be happy if you have leftovers, because like I said, I find it delicious. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna now marinate this for roasting. And the first ingredient, the most important ingredient, is chipotle and adobo. So you can find these cans almost everywhere. And it's a smoked chipotle chili, and it's packed in adobo, which is like a kind of a vinegary sauce, and it is delicious. It is super spicy. I'm just gonna use a tablespoon, which is about one chili, maybe a little extra of the other sauce in it. But I don't want to overpower the sweetness of the delicata. I just want it as a flavor in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop this up a little bit. And just because no one wants to get a big bite, or at least I don't, it is spicy. And I'm gonna take this and put it in my squash. And next I am going to put just a little bit of Mexican oregano, about a quarter teaspoon. I'm gonna put that in there. This is also very strong, and so we don't wanna put too much. I'm gonna put a tiny bit of cumin. not too much, just like an eighth of a teaspoon. So really, just a couple sprinkles. Don't want to overpower it. Don't want it to taste like cumin too much, just in the background. And finally, some sea salt. So if you're using sea salt, this is super salty sea salt. I'm going to use about 3/4 teaspoon. If you're using kosher salt, you're going to want to up it to at least a teaspoon. So I'm going to put that in there. And that is it. Some olive oil, about 2 to 3 tablespoons, whatever your comfort level is with oil, because it's delicious. And that will give it a nice roasty edge. So here I am. I'm going to use a spoon again. And I'm just going to toss this well, because I want all the flavors to get distributed. And then you get my half-sheet pan and some parchment just to make cleanup extra easy. And I'm going to spread it out into a layer. And I'm going to get these nice little bits that you don't want left behind. Then I'm going to put this in a preheated oven. And I have an old Wedgwood stove at home. I put mine at 425. It doesn't have convection, it's just an old stove, but it works well. Here we have convection oven. So we're gonna put it in at 425. It's gonna bake really nice and even. I love the convection. And we'll check it after about 15 minutes just to see where it is. So with the squash, delicata squash in the oven for about, we're gonna check it at 15 minutes and see how it's doing. Rotate the pan and see if maybe it's done depending on how your oven works. I'm just gonna make a really quick, very minimal red slaw to go on top, because it'll, like, the freshness will kind of add a nice texture to the roasted vegetables and beans, and it'll look beautiful because red cabbage is beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna start with, I can't recommend enough, if you have one of these, use it for this, for cabbage, because it adds such a nice texture to the cabbage when you can get it like super extra thin. Now you can do the same with a knife, or you can just have a thicker cabbage slaw. It is up to you. So the thing about these mandolins, the downside is that you might be making a nice vegetarian slaw and then you cut your finger and then that kind of ends that. So don't do that. Give yourself plenty of room. Don't try to use every little bit of the cabbage. You can always use your knife for that at the end, or use it for something else. So here I'm just making like just a small amount because I'm just doing a garnish. So I am putting it in my bowl, and I'm going to put a little bit of chopped cilantro, which you should also see from time to time in your CSA. And just gonna give it a rough chop. You can use just leaves, or I don't mind a few stems in mine, and but look how pretty that looks already with the green and the red cabbage. And then I'm just going to get my lime and some lime juice in there, and a pinch of salt, maybe another pinch of salt, splash of olive oil, and I'm just going to toss that. And I love pumpkin seeds when, so I'm just gonna put a few pumpkin seeds in there for crunch. And so this is ready to go once the squash and the beans are made. So that is part 2, the red slaw. So here we are halfway through our cooking time. I'm just gonna give it a little toss, make sure my oven is cooking at the right rate. This looks perfect. It looks like maybe we could use another 10 minutes or so. So I'm gonna put this back in. So these look to me like they're ready, nice and roasty, a little bit baked looking, a little bit of color, brownness to them. And so we're gonna call these done. And I'm gonna take them and put them here. And these are some black beans, you can put whatever you have, a half cup. I wouldn't put a whole can in here unless you're doing a lot of delicata squash. I would at least keep it half-half, but I like more of like maybe a third of black beans to 2/3. So I'm gonna put these in here, And you have these already warmed up, so they're delicious and ready to go. And then we have a choice to make. If you want to keep it vegan, then great, just use this. Or if you want to add another element like this cotija cheese from this local cheesemaker, Don Froylan. It's like a nice hard cheese, almost like a pecorino, so you could use a pecorino, you could use crumbled goat cheese, you could use also feta or queso fresco. And I'm just gonna grate some cotija cheese in there, and just for a little saltiness, and I'm gonna mix that in. And then this is ready to go. So now, okay, when heating up your tortillas, I use a cast iron skillet at home because I find that they work really well, they hold heat, and once they're seasoned, you don't need to add anything else to them, and they do a great job. So that is my favorite way of heating up our tortillas. And so this white one is ready to go. This is, we're gonna make just classic little street taco type. So I'm gonna put some filling in there, and I'm gonna put some of the slaw. And so this is ready to go. And now I'm gonna show you how to do like a little pan-fried version of this. I'm gonna use another one of Don Froylan's cheeses because they're delicious Mexican cheese, but you can use any type of melting cheese you like. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of this, which is a boltanero, which is like a Oaxaca cheese, like a melting cheese, like almost like a mozzarella. But he puts some cilantro and jalapenos in there. So I'm melting that, and then I'm gonna put some more filling in here. I'm gonna fold that over. And while I do that, I'm gonna do a third way. So if I'm gonna make a sope. So we make these by special order in our kitchen. You can come pick them up, put an order in and come pick them up directly from us or at the PSU Farmers Market on Saturdays. Our season ends at Thanksgiving, so you need to catch us during that time. Or if you really want them, just reach out to us. We'll figure out a way to make it work. So this is the sope. It's like a thick tortilla with the sides pinched up. And there's different names for these depending on where in Mexico you're from, sopes, pinchada, all types of different things. So I like heating mine up and a little oil on the bottom to make it kind of crisp. And I'm going to put a little bit of cheese to kind of melt as it heats up. And you can also just put these right in the oven, like build it up like you would a pizza, and a pre-baked pizza shell, and then put it right in there. And so the squash and the beans are still warm. In this case, the way that I'm doing this on the pan, the cheese is melting, and then I also have this little quesadilla, like crispy taco going with the melting cheese inside. And so you can see that. And that'll just take another minute or so to finish. And then we have 3 easy ways that you can use the chipotle roasted delicata squash from your CSA and the red cabbage if you have some of that too. And you can also use it in rice bowls or noodle bowls. It's delicious. You'll find a lot of uses for it. And I'm gonna put a little cabbage on top of here. And then you can always open this up and put a little cabbage inside. That's what I would do. So we have 3 different ways that you can use this for an easy dinner. We have the street taco, which is just heating up the tortilla real fast. This is more of like a crispy taco or a quesadilla type thing with the cheese inside and the squash inside. And then this is a sope. So the sopes are great because they look so pretty. They don't, you know, you can bring a whole platter of those. They're great for dinner parties or easy snacks. You can just do them in the toaster oven. And that's it.